It's now 5:05, and I'd like to call the August 10th, 2021 board meeting to order. May I please have a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chair.
I think that was Dr. Caution Parker. Who was that? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Mackey.
Yes. I move to convene an executive session for the purpose of discussing the superintendent's evaluation and a homeschool request.
Is there a second? Seconded by Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms. Agostini?
I'd like to ask that we postpone the superintendent's evaluation, as we just received the criteria information after 5 o'clock last night. I'd like to see us postpone it until our first meeting in September.
Okay, your concern has been noted.
Okay,
any
so
other discussion?
I would like to make a motion to have it postponed.
Is there a second to the motion? Seeing none?
It's called the motion fails.
Motion fails. Now, as we continue on, is there the second, Madam, sure, Dr. Caution Parker, you seconded, correct? Yes. Okay. At this time, any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll take the vote. You can just do hand. Okay. Motion passes. We'll now adjourn it to executive session.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, you didn't ask for those opposed.
I don't need to ask. I'm conducting the meeting, Ms. Agostini. I'll conduct it how I see fit. Thank you. Motion, well, let's move into executive session. Thank you. May I please have a motion to come out of executive session?
Madam Chair,
Dr. Scott.
I make a motion that executive session was adjourned at 6:34 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take the vote on it. Does everybody have a pop-up? Everybody? Okay. Motion passes. Okay. Okay, we are at 4.1, inspirational moment and pledge of allegiance. Ms. Mackey.
Madam Chair, just point of order, we are at 3.1 for the public input for Esser 3.
Oh, that's right. We do have to do Esser first. Did we have anyone signed up? I don't think we had anyone signed up for Esser, but at this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak about Esser? Okay. Seeing none, then we will move on. Do I have to make a motion, Dr. Davis, for that, or can I just move on? Okay, we're moving on. So we'll go back to 4.1, inspirational moment and pledge of allegiance. Ms. Mackey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair has made a request that for future board meetings, we have students who will share a moment of inspiration, be it talent or whatever, however they choose to inspire us. But since school is not back in session yet, we thought we would give people a break. And so I will share something tonight. It's actually a gift that was given to me by Rice Creek Elementary a couple of years ago, so thank you, Stacy Gatson. It's called Lead the Way, and just a little bit of inspiration as we round up summer school, run up the summer, and get ready for a new year of education. And I dedicate this to all of the educators who are on the front lines, quite literally and figuratively, as we go forward. And it's called Lead the Way by Ace Landers, illustrated by Garrett Taylor. And I'm showing it like a little kid, but you can't really see it. You always need somebody important in your life, somebody who stays by your side and teaches you to show up and work hard. Somebody who reminds you that when you can't do something right the first time, keep practicing. You'll get it eventually. Somebody who points out that when you make a mistake, it's up to you to smooth it over, and even when there's a long road ahead. You need that important somebody to show you that even when you think you know it all, there's always something more to learn. Somebody who teaches you that being a true champion doesn't always mean winning, and reminds you to thank those who helped you succeed. You need that driving force of a somebody or somebodies to demonstrate that when you're up against a wall, there's always a creative way to turn things around. That's what an important somebody shows you on and off the track. Who knows, maybe one day down the road you'll find someone looking to you for guidance, and you will have so very much to share. And you will help that someone face fears and believe in the absolute impossible. You will inspire that someone to give back to others. And you will show that someone how to shift gears and have a little fun along the way. You will be there to cross the finish line with that someone or someones and prove that the trophy isn't the only reward. The true rewards are the friends and memories and positive relationships you make along the way. At this time, if you will stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll move to 5.1, approval of the agenda. May I please have a motion regarding the agenda?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Mackey,
I move to approve the August 10th, 2021 regular board meeting agenda.
is there a second? Seconded by Dr. Caution Parker. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Agostini.
I am wondering, as my vote did not count and you did not need to take my vote going into executive session because you are running this meeting, I am wondering if my vote will be counting for the rest of the meeting.
Ms. Agostini, your vote is always counted. We will proceed. Any other comments? At this time, we will take the vote. Motion carries 1 no. Okay, we'll move into 6.1, special recognition. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the board, and to our viewing public and the public that is in attendance. Tonight, we want to recognize and congratulate the Honorable LaShonda McFadden for completing level 1 of the Boardsmanship Institute. The South Carolina School Boards Association offers a year-round training curriculum to help board members develop skills and stay abreast of state and national education issues. Workshops focus on school law, advocacy, and legislation, improving board operations, leadership for improving student achievement, and other timely topics. Board members can achieve up to 6 levels of recognition by earning points for participation in statewide conferences and trainings provided on-site in their district. So we'd like to at this time congratulations to Ms. McFadden, and thank you for your commitment to our district and your service as a board member. Congratulations. And we have her certificate right here. Put your papers in and get a photo, sure.
Congratulations, Ms. McFadden. Okay, at this time, we go to 7.1, approval of the consent agenda. May I have a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
Chair,
Ms. Agostini?
I move that we approve the consent agenda for tonight's meeting, August 10th, 2021.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Seconded by Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take the vote. Motion carries unanimously. Moving into 8.1, public participation. Do we have anyone signed up for public participation? Did you put them over here? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Our first public participation will come from Joffrey David. Please keep in mind that each public participant has, I believe, 3 minutes to speak. Yes.
How you doing today, board members?
Good evening.
So my question is this, in reference to the mask, when it comes to kindergarten and elementary children, what is the current standing for children wearing masks as of today?
Mr. David, how this works is we can't answer questions at this time. You are just here to speak, and then if you, yeah, it's okay. You didn't
Okay.
know. It's okay. But if you would like to address it, you can still talk.
Yes.
Let me let you talk, and then I'll address you. Go ahead, finish talking.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So for the mask, last year, my daughter was in school, and the reason that the school that she's in was so graciously enough to work with us for her to switch to virtual due to the fact that the mask was suffocating her on a daily basis. She was having problems and trouble breathing in the mask while sitting in class and stuff like that. And, it was just kind of a cringe moment for her to, she started off in the week and I said, well, hey, just try to, see what you can do with it. It went by the whole week, and she came back the next day on that Sunday. She was like, Dad, I can't do it. So Monday, I informed the school, and that Wednesday, she was home doing virtual. So that's my concern as far as a mask for kindergartners through, fifth grade or whatever. As far as the policy on vaccines, so I don't know the policy right now, with the vaccines or whatever the case may be for kindergarten through fifth grade or whatever the case may be. But, I would just want to know, if someone identified, my child, let's say that, she was ill, what would be, my concern is I wouldn't want not to be notified of her not being ill, if she was ill. So I've watched the stream last week, and that was one of the questions from last week. But I'm here today to that really didn't answer my question last week as far as that. So my concern is my daughter and this vaccine stuff and everything. It changes every week, from state, federal, local, whatever the case may be. So that's my concern as far as my children going back to school or either doing virtual.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Are you finished, Ms. Davis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna take a point of privilege here and just say, since you didn't know the process, if you have additional concerns, you are free to email our ombudsman's office or anyone on the board, and we'll try to get some of those answered. Normally, I wouldn't respond, but because you did not know the process, I'm gonna take a point of privilege to respond to that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next public participation, Celeste Thompson.
Good afternoon. And I just heard when you were saying that this is basically for us to discuss, and I'm going to change my question into a discussion. My question to my son's orientation last week was, will the absentees be counted this year since all of the children will be mandated to go back into school? And it was informed to me that it was. I don't see that being fair, because the children are only allowed 10 absentees. If they catch COVID, they have to be out 14 days. Then if they go back and they're around another child, they have to be out another 14 days. And according to on the website, it's stating that it'll be accepted if it's life-threatening for the child or others. But according to McMaster, this is not a life-threatening disease because we're not mandating masks for our children. So I don't see it being fair that the children have to be punished for the absentees if, we're not really protecting them. You understand? I feel like the absentees should not be counted this year for the kids, even though, yes, they are having to go back, and all of them are having to go back. And it's not going to be any type of social distancing. According to his school, the only social distancing is, or you're going to be eating lunch inside of your classroom. He's in middle school, so they're all going to be changing classes. Everybody's going to be, moving amongst each other. No social distancing at all. So it's like really throwing my child into the fire and crossing my fingers and hoping that he does not get burned. So my concern is, especially like for other seniors, what if they have 14 days and then they're going to wait until graduation and, okay, you can't graduate because you had too many absentees. This should not be counted against the kids. This should not be their burden. And that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Larry, I believe it's Smalls.
Yes, that's me. I got a lot of you guys. How y'all doing today?
Good, how are you?
First of all, I want to congratulate Dr. Teresa Holmes as being the new Richland County Chair.
Thank you.
I wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank
So
you.
again, congratulations, and I wish that you would have continued success with your constituents, your board members. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Real quickly, I just wanted to kind of share something with you regarding leadership. And I want to give you a definition, because this is something as a parent that I demand out of all of you. Leadership is defined as this. Leadership occurs when you are able to move people from where they are to where they ought to be. And the end result being that the people are not in the same place they were before they were led. And this is a rhetorical question. Can any of you tell me what progress have you've made over the past year and a half? We started at one point, and are we still at that same point? And I'm going to share this with you. If that is the case, and again, a rhetorical question, you're not going to get my support, okay? Because as a group, as board members, you're encumbered to look out for the best interests of the constituents of Richland County. We are your boss. And that's what I expect and I demand for this upcoming school year. Now, some of you I've known for a few years, know you personally. And some of you I've known truly have the best interest of Richland County District 2. And I sense that. I've heard you speak. But I just want to share this for some of you that I may not know. If any of you are trying to promote a geopolitical agenda or blindly following the NEA or the AFT, you need to resign from District 2 board. Those seats were not made to be worn by your backside. Those seats were made for servant leaders who are willing to lead. And a true leader influences others by serving others. What does that mean? By letting parents make the best personal decisions for their kids. And that's very important to me, and as a father, I take that very seriously. I want to end with this final note, and it's amazing. I'm borrowing this from DHEC. and it's a very catchy phrase, but I'm going to add a little revision to it. And this is what it says. It says, let's roll up our sleeves and fight this thing. And obviously they're talking about the coronavirus or COVID. I want to add to that.
28 seconds.
Let's roll up our sleeves and fight this thing by not hiding in fear behind a useless mask. I want to thank all of you, and y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we have no other public participation signed up, so we will be moving on to our next area, 9.2, voting on executive session items. May I please have Dr. Davis, Dr. Davis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would ask if I could get a staff member to maybe try to catch up with the two parents that had a question. I believe we could get those questions resolved or answered for them this evening before they leave. We had two at public participation, so we can go ahead and address that since we're getting very close to the start of school. Thank you.
I want to thank you, Dr. Davis, for doing that. That's what we call a proactive superintendent. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So then now for our homeschool, we're just looking for a motion for the approval of the homeschool request at this time from the board.
Okay, at this time, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair.
Mr.
I make a
Manning?
motion that we approve the request for the homeschool.
Second.
Can I answer? Can I get to the second first? May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. Motion carries. Okay, next, under voting items, may I have a motion about our executive item on the superintendent's evaluation?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Manning.
after reviewing Dr. Davis's report on the district's progress and considering the board members' comments regarding Dr. Davis's performance, I move that we conclude as a board that Dr. Davis receive an overall distinguished evaluation for the 2021 school year. I further move that as a result of Dr. Davis's overall distinguished evaluation, that Dr. Davis's employment contract with the district be extended 1 year through June 30, 2025.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Mackey. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Agostini.
I will not be supporting this, and very basic, I do not trust our superintendent. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Any other discussion? Seeing none, we will now take the vote. We'll give Zelina a chance to catch up. Are we almost there, Zelina? Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm sorry it was such a long minute. I hear you just typing away over there. I know. Okay, Mr. Manning, I'm going to need you to look at that and see if that's your motion, please. Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll take the vote. Okay, motion passes 6-1. Congratulations, Dr. Davis. We're proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
At this time, we'll move on to 10.1, policy, oh, I don't have my glasses, IKADD, Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the board, and to our viewing community and those in attendance, we're asking for the approval of policy IKADD, credit content recovery. We have reviewed this policy at our last board meeting, where we've made some adjustments to the policy, and now we're asking for the actual approval of the policy.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve policy IKADD? Ms. Mackey.
I move to approve policy IKADD, credit and content recovery.
Okay, I think I said A, and I need to put my glasses on. Dr. Caution Parker, did you second that?
Yes.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take the vote. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to 11.1 Esser update, Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the board, we are here to provide you with an update. We have Shelley Allen coming before you this afternoon. This evening provides you with an update for Esser 3. Ms. Allen.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm here tonight, and I'm sorry, Libby would probably be here helping with this because we're going to talk about the survey results. So I won't be quite as peppy and joyous probably as Libby is, but
you're fine.
we are going to walk through basically the results from the stakeholder and public input survey related to the Esser 3 funding, also known as ARP. As y'all are aware from our last meeting, we spoke about the requirements and the funding for all of the Esser funds at the board retreat on July 23rd. Since that time, we have sent out surveys to parents and employees and made those available to the community as well via the website. And we have gotten our responses and have some information to share with you tonight on that. We've also had additional input opportunities, as you saw earlier this evening, for anyone who wanted to come and provide feedback to the board and administration related to the Esser 3 funding. Just to recap for everyone and for the general public, the resources came down to districts and was communicated as far as allocation in late June. The application package was released, And during June and July, we received a lot of input on how we would be spending these funds, how we could use them, what we would need to put in the spending plan, et cetera. And part of that was to make sure we got input from our constituents. So we began that process, and July 28th, we sent out the first emails related to those surveys. So I'm going to walk through the results summarized for the surveys. We're going to break it down, talk parents, employee, and then community next. Okay. We had 2,582 parent responses for the parent survey results. As you can see, 59% of those for elementary, 34.4% for middle, and 40.8% for high school. The emails were sent out on July 28th, and we had approximately 23,691 views of the email. Now, that being said, saying people could have viewed an email more than once, but that was how many actual views we had. The reminder was sent out with the back to school email on July 29th, and we had 34,529 views for that. So we felt very good that the parents received that information, saw that information, had the opportunity to respond on the surveys. With regards to the mandate for utilizing 20% of the Esser 3 funds received for learning loss or lost instructional time, the top categories from parents were tutoring, instructional materials and resources to meet the needs of learners, and activities to meet unique needs of disabilities, limited English proficiency, poverty, homeless, underrepresented, and foster care of students. So those were the top 3 selected out of that survey. With regards to reducing the risk of virus transmission, the top 3 were water bottle filling stations, HEPA air filters and air purifiers, and touchless plumbing fixtures. And then finally, the question that related to providing mental health services and support for students. I didn't summarize the top 3 because there were only 4 that were listed, but as you can see, curriculum and programs to support students' emotional and social needs was top on the parents' list. Then counseling services for students and teacher and staff training to support students' social and emotional needs. So those were the common themes for parents. Any questions about the parents portion of the survey?
Dr. Scott?
Shelley, thank you so much for this. I don't have a question per se. I just want to know, is there any way that we can place this on the website for parents who may not be watching this evening, that they can go to their child's school's website just to review this, or Dr. Davis? Is that possible?
We'll look into trying to provide it with the app so they can see the gist.
Right, okay, thank you.
It is on for the general public listening. It is on board docs. If they go and look on board docs, this is posted, as well as the presentation from the board retreat, just for reference. We posted it on tonight's meeting too, just so they'd have it all there. But we could certainly look into other avenues for putting that out there, especially once we actually get the spending plan finalized. It may be good to have all those things available.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
thank you. With regards to employee survey results, we had 1,006 employee responses. 90% of those were from school-level employees, and you can see the breakdown in the pie chart there. The initial email sent out on July 28th had 7,482 views. The back-to-school email, which was sent out as a reminder on July 29th, had 9,045 views. So again, we felt pretty good about our employees having the opportunity to provide feedback. With regards to the 20% of ESSER funds that must be used for learning loss or lost instructional time, our top 3 from employees were, number 1, activities to meet unique needs of disabilities, limited English proficiency, poverty, homeless, underrepresented, foster care of students, and then 2, academic interventions, 3, instructional materials and resources to meet the needs of the learner. With regards to reducing the risk of virus transmissions, top 3 were HEPA air filters and air purifiers, water bottle filling stations, and upgrades to heating and ventilation. With regards to providing mental health services and support to students, our employees, top was counseling services for students. Second, social work services for students. And third, curriculum and our programs to support students' social and emotional needs. Any questions specifically about the employee survey results?
Madam Chair?
Ms. Agostini?
Thank you. As I'm reading this, so these were for the Esser 2 funds and that can be used for the risk of virus transmission, just for example, for the teachers or for the employees. They were only given like a list of 10. Was there an other where people could fill in something else, or we just put out?
With regards to these specific questions, we narrowed it down to areas, basically, based on number one, the criteria that we were given to begin with by the state. There were 15 criteria that fell under the Esser 3 fund. So when you read those criteria, and they're on the report available on the state website, referenced in our last report, those are sometimes a little bit confusing to read because they kind of have that legally terminology to them. So we tried to make this a little more user-friendly and consolidate. Some of those had overlapping themes, so we tried to consolidate those into like areas.
So we did the consolidation and gave them basically the 10 ideas and said rate it.
We basically tried to pull out from the 15 what the general themes were, because there were several of them that almost overlapped.
Yes.
And so we kind of consolidated that. And that was basically what drove our, especially on the 20% and the Esser 3. We did have some specific things related to the virus transmission from our needs assessment that we put on there. So
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on the employee surveys? The community website survey results, we had 74 responses. Of those responses, 61 of the responders indicated that they were either parents or students also, and 9 indicated that they were also employees. From the community website survey results, the top 3 were tutoring, instructional materials and resources to meet the needs of learners, and activities to meet unique needs, I'm just going to say of students and not read all of that out again to you, so don't mispronunciate. Related to reducing the risk of virus transmissions, top 3 were water bottle filling stations and sanitation and cleaning supplies, and HEPA air filters and air purifiers and touchless plumbing features. With regards to providing health services and support for students, the top category was counseling services for students. Second, curriculum and programs to support students' social and emotional needs. And finally, teacher and staff training to support students' social and emotional needs in the classroom. Any questions about the community website survey results? Finally, basically, we have taken all of these areas, combined them, and come up with a master priority list based on those things. As you can tell, there were definitely some recurring things. Tutoring stood out, and these are the final needs that we felt like were top in all of those categories. Again, the activities to meet the unique needs of disabilities, limited English proficiency, poverty, homeless, underrepresented, foster care of students, the tutoring, instructional materials and resources to meet the needs of learners, water bottle filling stations, touchless plumbing fixtures, HEPA air filters, and air purifiers, counseling services for students, curriculum, and programs to support students' social and emotional needs, and teacher and staff training to support students' social and emotional needs. So from this, we are going to sit down and look at and use this information to guide our decisions related to the requests that we presented back at the board retreat, and evaluate if there are any additional needs that have come to surface as we develop the plan. The plan is due to the State Department of Education on August the 24th. But this will be one of our one of the directions we use, we will use this information to support our decisions and where we choose that funding needs to be focused. As you recall, many of these areas definitely overlap or mirror some of the things that we had in our original request, such as the extended learning day to help that loss of instructional time, interventionists, special ed needs. We specifically have water bottle filling stations, air purifiers, et cetera. So those will be things we'll be considering going forward. But we just want to give you an update on what the survey results told us and where we are at this point in time. Any additional questions?
Board, any questions at this time? Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, thank you so much
Thank
for a
you.
wonderful report. We appreciate it. Okay, at this time, we move to 12.1, the superintendent's highlights. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the board, tonight I will begin my highlights with information about the upcoming school year. For the 2021-2022 school year kicks off next week. School bells will ring this year on the first day of school on Wednesday, August the 18th. The day before, our middle schools and high schools will host their annual Step Up to 6 and Fresh Start with COVID protocols in place. In light of last year's scaled-back format, this year's event will be offered to 6th grade and 7th graders at the middle schools and 9th and 10th graders at the high schools. If families need more information, please contact your child's school. I want to reiterate something that I said in our live update from last week. Richland School District 2 is committed to following the CDC and DHEC health and safety guidelines to the fullest extent possible where there is no restriction by state law. As mask is used as one of the most effective measures in reducing the spread of COVID-19, Richland 2, we strongly recommend and highly encourage the wearing of face masks in schools. Please keep the Richland 2 family safe when students come back on August the 18th. Another important prevention strategy that we encourage for all who are eligible is getting the COVID-19 vaccine. That is why Richland 2 partnered with Prisma Health to offer the second dose of the Pfizer vaccine for our students who are 12 and older, as well as the other individuals eligible to be vaccinated or eligible for the vaccine who live in the same household with the Richland 2 student. Prisma Health nurses will administer the second dose of the Pfizer vaccine in the drive-through COVID-19 vaccine clinic at R2I2 on Saturday, August the 14th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Students will receive free school supplies when they come back to get their second dose of the vaccine this upcoming Saturday. This clinic is for those who signed up and received the first dose at R2I2 at the vaccine clinic held on July the 23rd. Now for national recognition. Stage Lights Action is a familiar theater phrase, and that Sandra Diatel knows firsthand as she has earned another accolade because of it. Ms. Diatel, a theater teacher at Blythewood High School, is the 2021 recipient of the F. Lauren Winship Secondary School Theater Award. So let's congratulate her. History Teacher of the Year, Ms. Sade Collins, an African-American Studies teacher at Jackson Creek Elementary School, is the 2021 South Carolina History Teacher of the Year. This award is presented annually by the Gilder Learman Institute of American History, the nation's leading organization dedicated to K-12 American history education. This is the second consecutive year a teacher in Richland 2 has won this award. In 2020, Dr. Timothy Hicks, who teaches at Dent Middle School, won it as well. The DARE Educator of the Year. Another Jackson Creek Elementary School teacher is in the spotlight. 5th grade teacher Susan Stokes is the 2021 South Carolina DARE Educator of the Year. Stokes is an expert on the Keeping It Real drug prevention curriculum that DARE uses to teach young people about the dangers of drug use. An R2I2 Next Energy class shout out. Congratulations to R2I2 Student Innovation Center teacher Kirsten Bullington. Recently, John Kerry, Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, applauded her during the U.S. Department of State's annual Global Teaching Dialogue. He recognized her work with a classroom in the Senegal, West Africa, as a stellar example of addressing the climate crisis and integrating global collaboration and climate into the curriculum. Collaboratively, students have designed and built solar chargers for cell phones and photocopies. And that concludes the superintendent highlights for this week's board meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Davis. Oh, okay, we will move to 12.2, annual board self-evaluation, and that is going to be done by myself. This is just a summary of the process. Our board had a 2-day retreat on July 23rd and 24th. On the 24th, we participated in a numeric scale self-evaluation that was given an average in different areas. The purpose is meant to serve the board as a self-analysis and designed to help boards grow professionally. So that's just a summary of what we did on the 24th at our board retreat. Okay, moving on to 12.3, policy revision, policy ADD, face coverings. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Marshall and Franklin, our Deputy Superintendent, will come before you this evening to share with you the revisions. There is no action requested at this time for the policy revisions for face coverings. As this is new business, no action requested. Dr. Franklin.
Thank you, Dr. Davis, Dr. Holmes, members of the board. At the July 14th board meeting, the board voted, as recommended by district administration, to remove language regarding face coverings on buses, the additional considerations section, and the discipline section from the draft policy. The recommendation to remove said portions of the draft policy came as a result of a July 6th memo from the State Department of Education. That memo indicated that the State Department would no longer enforce the face covering requirement on school buses. In an email from the State Department on July 29th, additional clarification regarding face coverings was provided, and they are as follows. It applies to 3 areas: buses, designated healthcare areas, and visitors. Buses, the State Department will not require a face mask requirement on school buses. However, individual districts may choose to require face coverings on buses. This is consistent with Presidential Executive Order 13998. This does not conflict with Proviso 1.108, as that proviso is specific to educational facilities or buildings and does not extend to school buses. Designated healthcare areas. Spaces in a school building that are designated for healthcare are considered healthcare facilities. And this will be spaces like our health rooms, our athletic trainer rooms, areas designated for sick students to wait until they're picked up. As such, in those areas, we follow the same infection control procedures as do standalone healthcare facilities. Individuals being assessed, tested, or dismissed from attendance due to respiratory symptoms can be required to wear a face covering while in these designated spaces and while transiting to and from these spaces. And the last area is visitors. Districts may choose to require visitors to wear face coverings. Proviso 1.108 prohibits districts from requiring face coverings be worn by employees and students, but does not address visitors. Therefore, district administration is proposing some of the language that was removed from policy ADD last month be reinserted into the policy, specifically the language relative to accommodations, additional considerations, and discipline. Additionally, we recommend the health advisory language be worded slightly different and featured as an introductory statement in the policy. As for the 3 instances in which face coverings, as of today, can be required, district administration has created an administrative rule that specifies when and by whom face coverings are required. The administrative rule is included in your packet for information. Welcome your questions and comments.
Board, any questions?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Agostini?
my first question is under, well, they're both actually related to accommodations, but additional considerations. And when I'm looking at special health care or educational needs as determined by IEPs and 504s. So for example, if a student has autism and struggles to wear a mask, would that be something that would be considered for an accommodation to this policy?
Yeah, it would be individual to the student, so it really would depend on the student. So
it's not just respiratory problems. if it would be considered for the student.
Right, so that would have to be considered on an individual basis.
All right, and then secondly, I go back, and we've had this discussion before, but as I look at it more carefully, we talk about a face shield. A face shield is different than a face covering, is that correct? Under definitions.
Yes, they're made of different materials.
And the only way that a person would be permitted to wear a face shield, if we pass this policy, would be if they've been granted an accommodation.
I'm sorry,
They can't be
read through it one more time.
substituted out.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board questions?
Just as a point of clarification, may I, Madam Chair?
Yes,
We want
Dr.
to make sure
Davis.
that we are being specific, that this policy governs 2 individuals at this time as far as the ability to wear face coverings, and that is employees and students,
Exactly.
correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Dr. Davis, for that clarity. Any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Manning?
Yeah, I would implore the board that we strongly consider passing the recommended changes as provided by the district. My only drawback to this thing is, a citizen myself, it's hard to keep up. When we just changed it, now we're looking to change it again. We have so many things coming at us. Unfortunately, the school year is right on us.
Mm-hmm.
So we're put in an untenable situation that we keep getting new guidance and new requirements. I think certainly school buses, high density, very likely areas for points of infection. If there were a quarantine event, it would have massive impact. So I think masks are important on buses. And in our healthcare areas where it specifically identifies treatment of respiratory issues, to me, that just makes sense, that we have people wear masks if you're in a area where you're being potentially treated for a problem that could be COVID-related. And then visitors, we just have lots of folks that come in and out of the building. And so I think we need to implore our visitors to do that. So I would ask that the board consider this change at our next meeting.
Okay. Any other discussion? Ms. Agostini?
Just a question, and Mr. Manning prompted it. We're, for buses, planning to be full capacity, back to pre-COVID. Isn't that so we'll have 3 people in a seat and each seat full?
Possibly. So we are returning to our regular capacity on buses. You'll recall last year, the State Department provided districts a waiver of their seat time. And so we were able to extend our arrival and dismissal window so that we could double or triple route buses if needed. And so that waiver for seat time is no longer in place. So we're required to return to our standard start and end times of the school day, which means our buses will need to operate on their regular schedules, their pre-COVID schedules.
Okay, so
Which
we're
puts
going to
them
be
back
at
at
maximum
capacity.
capacity like we were prior to COVID,
Correct.
basically. So, okay, that's what I wanted. Thank you.
Board members, any other questions? Okay.
And if I could just comment on what Mr. Manning said about the
Yes.
situation being a very fluid situation. That is why district administration has placed the specific stipulations regarding face coverings in an administrative rule, and then the policy is more general.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Franklin. We appreciate your report.
Question, Madam Chair.
Oh, Ms. McFadden, you have a,
Yes, Ms.
okay. Ms. McFadden, you have something? And then Ms. Mackey.
Yes, I just want to be clear that it's highly recommended and encouraged for students and for teachers. And they are allowed to wear either or, their choice, because they don't necessarily have to, but they should and are encouraged to wear plastic or face shield.
Okay. Thank you.
That's-
That's a question.
That's correct. We cannot enforce at this time, according to the proviso, enforce the mask, unfortunately, we can't enforce a mask policy without jeopardizing funding. And so we are encouraging staff and we're encouraging students, those who can be first, be vaccinated, to get vaccinated. And then we're encouraging those to also wear a mask or some sort of face shield. But they, right now, as the law is stated, they do not, we cannot enforce that, but we can strongly encourage and recommend.
Okay. Ms. Mackey?
Thank
Thank you, Dr. Franklin, for your presentation. And I know that it seems as if we are changing back and forth, but the guidance we are getting, or lack thereof, federally or even locally, is determining the decisions we make. Just a point of clarification, I pray that people will keep their children safe. With regard to vaccines, children 12 and under are not capable of getting vaccines, so if that's their choice, they don't even have the capability to protect themselves at this point. According to the CDC, the virus can be transmitted from students, from non-vaccinated people to vaccinated people, and the bottom line is it's very contagious. I pray that people will be able to do what it takes to keep not only your children safe, but their teachers. I get emails, I don't know if I'm the only board member who has been inundated with questions or text messages and emails from teachers who are nervous and who are afraid that they are not adequately protected against the pandemic. The virus right now is worse than it was when it started a year and a half ago. So I applaud our leaders for the choices that we are trying to take to keep people safe. And it is unfortunate that the pandemic is deadly. It's unfortunate that it has been politicized. It is unfortunate that the vaccine and the masks have been weaponized, and that they are now, subjects for political warfare, as it were. We are in the business. The end user of the product that we are here to deliberate is children, and trying to keep them safe and trying to keep teachers safe. So what we are doing is trying to make decisions that are within our best effort, and to keep our funding to educate children, to Dr. Davis's end. And I know that we have some may be, I guess, familiar, and others are not. We have a neighboring school district, that has mask mandate, and the city mandated that for them. That wasn't a decision that the city mandated that for them. The county has yet to do anything similar to that, but I just want people to understand that the decisions we make here are according to law. But at the end of the day, we want students to be safe. We want teachers to be safe. And Dr. Davis said something last year when we started school with regard to the pandemic, that he wanted to finish with the same people he started with. And that is my hope now, that we finish the 2021-22 school year with the same people we started with, literally.
Okay. I'm going to say this, and then if there's any other board comments, but I'm going to say this, is that I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what you said, Ms. Mackey. I think that at this time, our constituents need to make sure that they are aware that county council can also piggyback on the proviso that the mayor has made for the city. Richland 1 was very fortunate to have Mayor Benjamin provide them with that umbrella to fall under. So if there are still folks who are concerned about the mask or lack of mask mandate, please contact your local county council members and ask them to intercede on this side of the county's behalf. Because as Ms. Mackey said, as a school board, we are basically hand-tied because of funding. We are basically hand-tied because when there was a mask mandate, we had to follow the law. And now that there's a law that says that we cannot, we have to follow the law. So if you want some change with that, I say this all the time, you have to know which office you need to call and who you need to contact. It's not us on this one, but we are going to do everything we can as a district to keep our students and teachers and our stakeholders and everyone working in school as safe as possible. But you need to, if you would like to have change, please, this is me speaking personally on this, please contact your county council members. I have done so personally myself, and I'm just saying, if you want change, you need to know which office to contact. Okay, any other discussion from any of the board members on that? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Franklin, for such a wonderful report. We appreciate you. This is a very fluid situation, and you're going to be hopping all around on this one. I hate to tell you that. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to, we are on Okay, 12.4, Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the board, we have again Dr. Franklin here to provide us with the back-to-school health and safety protocols report. Dr. Franklin.
Thank you, Dr. Davis, Dr. Holmes, members of the board. I'm going to share some of the things that we're putting in place or will have in place for back to school while we're in high transmission. And then I will be joined by Mr. Will Anderson, our Chief Operations Officer, and Ms. Dawn McAdams, our Coordinator of Health Services, for the hard questions. And so I'll explain a little history behind how we arrived at these health and safety protocols. Our district team met first, considered current COVID conditions, as well as things that we need to put in place to ensure that our students and our staff are safe when we return to school. We then shared that draft with our principals and received additional input and recommendations. Additionally, we received recommendations and input from parents and employees through item 1 on the Esser survey. And so we combined all of that information into the document that we will share with you this evening. As it relates to physical distancing, of course, we're practicing 3 feet of physical distancing to the extent possible. As it relates to large gatherings like staff meetings, parent meetings, school day assemblies, or student congregate events and activities, our schools will utilize virtual platforms, a hybrid model, or staggered attendance in instances where 3 feet of physical distancing is not feasible. In our classroom spaces at the elementary through 6th grade level, as Mrs. Mackey mentioned earlier, those are students in the age group who are not yet eligible to be vaccinated. We're continuing to use barriers and dividers. And then in our 7th through 12th grade classrooms, we will have barriers and dividers available as needed or as requested. Where possible, in classroom spaces, we'll have students facing the same direction. And classrooms, of course, will be decluttered to maximize space as teachers did last year. Seating charts will be maintained, and that's for the purpose of contact tracing. In addition, we'll have hand sanitizer and sanitizing wipes available to students and staff. We're also highly encouraging parents to submit payments to the online payment system that reduces the amount of money that teachers have to handle that are coming from homes. For meals, our meals will be prepared and packaged as grab-and-go meals. And then at all 3 levels, we will have measures in place to reduce the number of students in the cafeteria at one time in one setting. So for example, at the elementary level, following an A-B cafeteria schedule, where half of the grade level eats in the cafeteria in week A, while the other half of the grade level eats in the classroom. And then on week B, they flip-flop. So again, giving all students the opportunity to eat in the cafeteria, just not at the same time. At the middle school level, we'll utilize a variety of approaches. Again, that depends on the size of the middle school, the spaces that they have, and so they will have things in place such as an AP schedule, like the elementary schools are doing, physical barriers, as well as satellite areas, so areas other than the designated cafeteria where students will have an opportunity to eat. And at the high school level, students will eat in the cafeteria and at designated satellite areas on campus.
Dr. Scott?
Dr. Franklin, for high school students, will they be allowed to leave campus?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm just wondering if we do that, how we're going to contact trace because they may go different places. So I'm just wondering, was that a conversation that maybe the high school principals met with you guys and decided that would be the best?
Right, and one of the reasons we wanted to continue, in phase 3 last year, we did allow students to leave campus for lunch. I believe it was our seniors that were leaving campus for lunch. With more students coming back face-to-face, our team felt that it would allow us to better distribute students during lunch and give us more options in terms of where they are eating during lunch. So having a group of students who are going to leave campus for lunch, as well as some who are staying on campus, it helps us distribute the students better than it would if we required them all to remain on campus. And Dr. Super can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we do seniors, and then in the 2nd semester, our juniors.
That's correct. It's seniors and then 2nd semester juniors who earn the privilege. Typically at the high school, they have to earn the privilege to be able to leave campus 2nd semester of their junior year.
Okay, I would love to see maybe a report later after the 1st semester, just to see how that tied into COVID with seniors, so if we can continue to see if that's something that's successful or something that we may want to cut back on, if you guys get an opportunity.
Thank you.
One of the thoughts behind that, also, Dr. Scott, was at the high school level, because they're already transitioning so much, we don't have a cohort mechanism or cohort method in place at the high schools like we can do at the elementaries and even a little bit at the middle, because they're already changing classes 5-6 times a day. Some are coming late for late starts, some are early dismissal, some then coming back for athletics. There's already so much transient. So the contact tracing would be based on the student, because contact tracing is based on the student reporting to us who they were in close contact with, whether they rode in a car to and from school. Many kids are riding to school together with other students, leaving with those same students. So it's really kind of a challenge with contact tracing, regardless if it's just for that lunch period or not, because they're moving around. So that was part of the thinking why that wasn't limited.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
For our front office spaces, we're continuing to use barriers and plexiglass, as well as using a bin for items that are dropped off by parents during the school day. And also in our front office spaces, ensuring physical distancing by either having signage or marking the floors. You'll recall last year, this time, our board voted to suspend the visitors policy for all of last year. And so we're excited about having the opportunity for parents and visitors to come into our schools this year, but with some parameters. As mentioned when I was sharing the face covering policy, we will require visitors to wear face coverings, and that says pending approval. It really should say pending review, because our board doesn't approve administrative rules, but they do review them. Also, during the school day, we're limiting classroom visitors to 2 per classroom at a time. And in addition, visitors will not be permitted to eat breakfast or lunch with students, and that is because, of course, in order to eat, you would have to remove your face covering. So while we are in high transmission, we will ask that visitors not come to school to eat breakfast or lunch with students, but they may visit classrooms. And then just a variety of other measures. We're still not using water fountains to drink directly from, but we can use them as water filling stations if needed. Utilizing directional traffic patterns to manage traffic flow, particularly at our middle and high schools where students are changing classes multiple times during the day. Our custodial teams will continue cleaning high-touch areas, and we're utilizing electrostatic sprayers daily in the following areas. In classrooms where there is a COVID outbreak or where there's a person who has been identified as having COVID symptoms or testing positive, our health rooms, cafeterias, front offices, locker rooms, and in other high-traffic areas. For gym classes last year, our students did not dress out. We did not utilize our locker rooms. And so this year, we're going back to allowing our students to dress out for gym class, however, just limiting the number of students who are in the locker room at one time. For school supplies, students will maintain a personal set of school supplies that they're not sharing with others. If there are any community use manipulatives or learning materials in the classroom, they'll be sanitized as needed. Last year, we also, because we suspended the visitors policy, our extracurricular activities that are provided by vendors like cheer and karate and golf, we did not do those. We're bringing those back this year, but of course the only requirement is that the employees who are working for each particular vendor is wearing a face covering and adhering to our health and safety protocols. So our quarantine period is 14 days. We are piloting and looking at a 7-day quarantine period with a negative viral test and no symptoms, but that does not go into effect just yet. So as of right now, we're staying with the 14 days, and then our nurses, led by Ms. Meg Adams, we're looking at the results of our pilot of doing the 7-day quarantine period. Additional PPE will be provided for nurses and SPED staff who work in close proximity to students, as we did last year. And we're continuing to update our indoor air quality through HVAC upgrades, higher rated filters, et cetera. And again, with face coverings, we are encouraging the use of face coverings by everyone. However, individuals will wear face coverings in the health room while being assessed or dismissed due to respiratory symptoms, and that's the designated health room as well as other areas in the building that may be designated as a healthcare facility, like the athletic trainer's space or the additional health room. And then again, pending the board's review of the administrative rule tonight, visitors will be asked to wear face coverings while inside of school buildings during the school day, as well as students and any staff who is on a bus being required to wear face coverings on the bus. For sporting events, those that are held outdoors, we're practicing 3 feet of physical distancing. You'll recall last year we did 6 feet, and so this year for outdoor events, we're doing 3 feet. And then for indoor indoor athletic events, we're keeping the 6 feet of physical distancing. For travel, of course, we have student travel and employee travel. Because we're doing 3 feet of physical distancing in our schools, for travel, that would also be expected. It is highly recommended that any employee who is traveling for work-related reasons is fully vaccinated before traveling. Not a requirement, it's just a recommendation. If employees are traveling by a vehicle, we're limiting the number of people who can be in the vehicle to 2. And for overnight stays, it's our preference that employees sleep 1 per room, but no more than 2 per room. And for overnight stays of students, no more than 2 students per room. And that completes the health and safety guidelines that we will follow while we are in high transmission. I welcome Mr. Anderson and Ms. McAdams, as well as your questions or thoughts.
Board, any questions at this time?
Madam Chair.
Ms. Mackey?
Dr. Franklin, I want to thank you for this presentation. I know that there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of people who are working behind the scenes to make this happen. My first question was, is that available on the website? But in the time it took for me to think about that question, I've gone to the website, and it looks like under the Back to School tab, there is a COVID tab we can click on, and it has probably way more detailed information than that. But that's a very helpful slide, and so just wanted to see if that was available for the public. But if you go to richland2.org and click on Back to School, it has lots of information that's helpful. At this time, I want to thank you for your information and just thank our teachers, our principals, our this is tough. The information that you provided for us seems like a pragmatic thing to share with us, but I know that I'm a board member, I set policy, I'm also a parent, I have children. So my heart aches for these parents who are on both sides of the fence with regard to how to best keep their children safe. Our teachers are here regardless. They don't have a choice as to whether or not they feel like, dealing with a certain population or either side of the fence at any time. So I just want to take the time to thank our teachers and our principals and the people who are putting their lives on the front line to educate our children. I just want to thank you. This is tough. This is a lot. It's fluid. We don't know what the pandemic will look like 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, and we'll be back hearing presentations like this that will continue having moving parts. So I appreciate that, and thank you all for what you do.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Manning?
the COVID testing site over here, I'm direction challenged, I think it's that way. Is that going to continue throughout the school year, or as far as we know?
As far as we know, and we welcome them as long as they would like to stay.
Right, okay, all right, so we encourage them, because I think as school starts and we have a lot of these protocols, testing's involved, I want to make sure that we do everything we can to make it as available as possible.
Right, and their standard hours are 10 to 4, Monday through, I think, Saturday, but they have committed to staying open an extra hour on Wednesday evening until 5, specifically for Richland 2 employees and students.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Manning, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'm sorry. May I piggyback
Ms.
on
Mackey.
that? With regard to the testing site that Mr. Manning is speaking to, just to reiterate, just to encourage people to use that, I've been vaccinated. I wear my mask consistently, but nothing is guaranteed, and so I go to that site at least once a week. Back before the vaccination was available, it was more than that, but it's fast. You drive up, there are lots of people who are working there, so it's probably a 5-minute process to get tested. So for anyone who, whether you're vaccinated or not, if you're concerned and want to get tested, it's a really quick and convenient site that's in the I-2 parking lot. So thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Manning.
Okay. Board members, any other questions or concerns?
Madam Chair?
Ms. Agostini?
I have several questions. Thank you, and thank you so much, Dr. Franklin, for your presentation. My first question, excuse me, would be in terms of visitors. So visitors cannot have lunch with students. So we will not be able to have our mentor programs that we have with different community organizations this year, like, the Lunch Buddy program.
Right, and so the visitor would not be able to eat lunch. So the visitor can come to the school and spend time with the student, but not remove their mask. They wouldn't be able to eat lunch.
Okay, and we've had groups, and for example, I know my daughter, when she was at Spring Valley High School, would go over and read to Lonnie B. Nelson. Would a group of students be able to, or different organizations be able to go into these different schools and provide that type of mentorship or assistance?
Yes, they can, so long as we don't have more than 2 per classroom
2 per classroom.
at one time. So for example,
Well,
there is
what about if they're reading out in the hallway?
I think we'll have to do that on a case-by-case basis, just so
Okay.
long as there are not more than 2 visitors in a classroom at one time.
Okay. Also, teacher accommodations for those teachers that were not able to go back to work, that, did finally receive accommodations from us in December, January. Where do they stand?
I'm going to yield to Ms. Williams for the accommodations question.
Any employee has been notified of their response from last school year, and employees can update their reasonable accommodation for this school year should they need accommodation.
So we will consider, again, teachers who have underlying health conditions or family, whatever, that,
If it falls under the Americans with Disability Act, yes, reasonable accommodation falls under the Americans with Disability Act. So if it meets the criteria of the Americans with Disability Act, then we would modify as needed, as long as it doesn't cause an undue hardship to the district.
all right, I guess that has me concerned because initially last year, no one met that criteria, and then we had 60 teachers or something like that met the criteria a month after we brought them back to school. So how would that change?
Again, right now, what we would do is we would align ourselves with the Americans with Disability Act. That would be the best response. And we would work closely with our legal team to make sure we're adhering to what the federal law says.
And we've reached out to those teachers to let them know that had those accommodations, that they need to reach out to us?
Well, they would have to apply very similar to FMLA, where you would have to apply for FMLA every year once your notification has ended. So if there was any changes to their medical history, they would need to notify us and fill out the reasonable accommodations form.
Okay, thank you. And then my last, well, not my last question, actually going back to lunches. Last year when I visited schools, one of the things that I appreciated was a lot of different schools had a system that worked for them. And they received a lot of autonomy, looking at the lunch schedules and how things are set up. That's not the case this year. I'm just curious about the thought process behind that.
Are you referring to like in elementary schools where they were delivering lunches to
Exactly.
class?
Like some would use the lunchroom, some would not.
Right, and so with us knowing that we're going to have more students physically in school as opposed to last year where there were several students in e-learning, we really won't be staffed to have folks pulled away from their primary responsibilities to deliver lunches. And so that's why our food service company is preparing all lunches like in a grab-and-go type setting, so that any student, any class can be brought to the cafeteria, for example, at the elementary level, and pick up their lunch and either stay in the cafeteria or go back to the class to eat.
Okay, thank you. And my final question, have we thought about doing pool vaccines on a voluntary basis? There are companies out there, and I think the state of Massachusetts is doing it right now, but where they will randomly pick classrooms, just sort of as a control measure and it's very basic and very easy, and the kids can do it themselves. But is that something that we've considered to do so that we can assure the teachers and the public that we don't have an unknown outbreak in our classrooms?
To my knowledge, we have not considered that. And looking at and Dawn is saying no, we haven't.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Mr. Manning.
I'm going to actually attribute this to Ms. McFadden because she asked it earlier, but I think it's important for us to understand. So if a student is out on quarantine for 7 or 14 days, depending on whatever we end up determining, what does that mean for their absences? Does that count against their absences, or does it not?
Right, and so we asked that question to the State Department last week, probably like Wednesday or Thursday. We haven't received an answer just yet. We're hoping that we will be able to code the answer using the same codes that we used last year, but we haven't gotten a definitive answer on that just yet.
And while they're out on quarantine, how would they continue to receive instruction since we're not in a dual modality mode?
Right, and so our academics team is working on a plan, or has drafted a plan, where students will have access to assignments to keep them engaged while they're out on quarantine, because we don't have the e-learning option this year. So they will have assignments available to them, as well as an online learning support system where they're practicing specific relevant skills that they would have been doing if they were in school, as well as access to a tutor, an online tutor.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. McFadden, you brought that up earlier. I wanted to make sure we got the question asked, so thank you.
So Dr. Fadden, I'm sorry. I'm looking at LaShonda. So, Dr. Franklin, so when we talk about the coding, you're talking about coding in Power School.
Attendance in
so
Power
that
School,
report to the
correct.
State Department of Education and absences. That's what you're talking about?
That is correct.
The special coding that we used last year, correct?
Correct. And
Okay.
so we know that in order for a student to be considered present, their body has to be in the building.
Right.
And so what we've inquired about is students who are placed in quarantine. Like, how do we note their attendance, note their absence in Power School?
Right, because I know that reports straight to the State Department.
Correct.
So I know that you need to code it correctly so that code won't pick up on
Right.
their absences.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Thank
we're
you.
hoping that we're able to use the same coding that we did last year.
Okay, and they have not responded
Not
as of
yet.
yet. Let me ask this question. As for the teachers, will the teachers be allowed to use that same coding also, or how's that going to work?
Teachers coding for.
I mean, I'm sorry. With teachers who are absent, are they going to have to use their sick days?
Okay, and I'm going to refer to Ms. Williams. She'll come back and explain what we're doing for COVID leave.
Okay. I know that that's a concern for many teachers.
As a follow-up, actually, on this morning, our teachers received information regarding COVID extended leave, emergency leave that will be utilized for 10 days. So the district will have the 10 days available for staff who meet certain criteria. In addition, there is a remote work option for employees as well as needed.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that because I know that was a big concern for a lot of teachers. Thank you for that update. I appreciate that. Board, any other questions or concerns? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, ladies, for a wonderful report. That was a lot of work. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 12.5, update capital improvements. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And while Will Anderson is coming to the podium to share the update regarding our capital improvements, I'll take this as an opportunity just to share as well for the viewing public to ask them to please be understanding and patient as we work through some of these challenges as it relates to attendance and COVID. There will be some students who will probably spend quite a bit of time out of school as a result of being deemed a close contact. And the fact that we can't put in place some of the mitigating factors, or they are unable to be vaccinated because of their age and our limited ability to offer virtual. There are many, many things that are obstacles that have been placed in front of us, but we are diligently working through those things, and we'll do our very best to communicate them in a timely manner to our parents so that they can make the proper decisions as it relates to child care provisions, decisions and things of that nature before and during the school year. And we'll continuously communicate with them throughout the year as things change and unfold. Thank you.
Thank you for saying that, Dr. Davis, because I know that's, in light of we're getting ready to start back to school with our students, those are some of the questions that parents have been concerned about. So thank you for addressing that.
And now we'll have Mr. Anderson share with you all the update, the capital improvement update for the August 10th school board meeting. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Thank you, members of the board. This past year has been like Groundhog Day, like that movie, huh? That's what I feel like some days, my goodness. Anyway, here we are to give you an update. It's been since May, since we've had an update, and we've been dealing with this ongoing conversation, what we're having just now with our previous agenda item, but we've been very, very busy this summer, and so happy to give some updates that we've been going on with our capital improvements. Just again, summary of what we've accomplished and where we're at. So we have accomplished a lot. I say a few years ago, but man, it's been since 2018 since this bond was passed, and it's now 2021. It's hard to believe where we're at right now, but you can see the things we've accomplished under construction in design phase and where we're at next. Just a summary to go through, and as well as our security cameras and door accesses and our buses. So we're making progress, 10 facilities complete with our security cameras and almost all of our buses. So just diving into some of our big projects. This is Bethel-Hanbury Elementary. It changes every day. Super excited with the work at Bethel-Hanbury where we're at. We've already got on the books overhead inspections scheduled. So we are really knocking it out. Kudos to our team at Bethel-Hanbury. The site is key. Our sister schools going on at the same time don't have a nice flat sandy site like Bethel has had, and so that is a plus for them. The other contractors will tell you that every time you talk to them about it. But yeah, it's going great and going well there. So happy for the work at Bethel-Hanbury. E.L. Wright and CFK, you can see the photo on the left there, the drone, and you can see the photo on the right of where we're at there. Third floor is up, roofing is coming on. As you can see in the photo on your left, it's hard to see with the screen there, but we are basically almost butting up against the existing three-story building at E.L. Wright. On the photo on your right, again, hard to see a little bit, but that is the new and will be used drive coming up this school year. So we've shut off the old carpool line, so there's a new phase, so bear with us, parents, if you're listening. I know the school's been reaching out there to what that new drive will look like. So it will be a little different, but like any first year, the first week of school is always tough learning how to drive at a school, but it will be different. But other than that, construction is going great at E.L. Wright and CFK, making progress there. Forest Lake Elementary, I was out there today. The block work continues to go move faster and faster. So we're making progress. It's starting to look like a school there at Forest Lake as well. Some issues that we had with stormwater was not a Richland 2 issue. It was more of a issue with other places, and the county confirmed that. So we've moved past any stormwater issues there, and construction continues to be on time, on budget, on schedule at Forest Lake. This is Northeast Stadium, and now I was out there today, had the pleasure of going with the schools and with the state newspaper, giving them a brief tour of Northeast and Ridgeview. The lines are actually down on the stadium now as well, so we're very happy to have that first football game on the 27th for Northeast with the ribbon cutting. It's hard to believe when you actually now see them and talk to some of them, 43 years of sharing a stadium, and so you can see the pride of Richland Northeast, and as I talk about Ridgeview in a minute, of the stadium, but it's done, just punch list items we're finishing up there, some of the landscapings, things like that, but excited to be having that stadium open in August 27th. The renovations at Richland Northeast, this is a picture of the roof. Now you can, the two buildings on your left, they have started the roof work there. We are behind schedule with those on those renovations at the roof, but we've got 8 portables on campus now to continue with the renovations, and we continue to work through the renovations at Richland Northeast. Ridgeview High School Stadium, again, I was out there again today with that tour, another fantastic facility. These pictures are more updated now with the finishing up punch list items, landscaping. Again, 26 years of not having an on-campus stadium for Ridgeview, so that community is really happy. That first game is August 20th versus Westwood, and both of those, if you're listening, I'd come early. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot of people there, and we'll be practicing our social distancing, but it will be busy to celebrate these new stadiums. And those both stadiums have passed OSF, all of the inspections. The Ridgeview High renovations, this picture on your left is the new auditorium expansion. And then the picture on your right is the entrance off of Hardscrabble, and then the entrance on the back. Just beautiful what they've done there to expand Ridgeview High School with those renovations. We actually, as I speak, I still have not gotten a text from John Clayton, but they were doing an OSF interior, final inspection. It started late. I guess they're I think they're still there, which isn't a bad thing. It just means they've got to go into a lot of spaces to make sure all the fire alarms and everything work. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get a final inspection and we will be good to go at Ridgeview High School. So excited about that as well. Blythewood High School, you can see the renovations and additions there in these pictures. The picture on your top left is the new multi-purpose room entrance in the back. This used to be that blank space along sidewalk where you would enter into the atrium. The picture on the right is that atrium expansion there in Blythewood High School. The picture below it is the fifth house classroom addition, and then you can see the new multi-purpose, some of the tech classes and building construction classes there that we're putting in there, and you can see there's some welding equipment and other things there in that space. We are behind schedule on this school, but we do have an inspection scheduled for Thursday for the multi-purpose and athletic addition, and we have another inspection scheduled in August, end of August, and we are working with the school on all of those to make sure those go smoothly as we open school next week. We also are working on a winter construction for Langford and Catawba Trail, and Condor and Keels. We are making very good progress to have that construction starting in the winter as well, meeting with the schools Thursday to go over some more stuff with their faculty and staff. Last time we met about performing arts, we talked about the exterior. Here are a few images as we continue this process of design of some interior renderings. We're working our way through that. These are just a couple, but we've made some very good progress of what the interiors will look like. It really starts making this place come to life. Got more of these I could share at a later date. But again, we're scheduled for construction in January on site here at R2I2. Our cash flow and it continues to be smooth. You can see that as of today, or I guess it was last week, we have a remaining balance of almost $200 million. You can see what we've spent to date in our encumbrances. Dr. Miley or Ms. Allen could happy to answer any of the real detailed questions, but financially we're in good shape with our dollars for our bond referendum projects. Just some other notes I wanted to let you know. I did just mention pricing. You all, if you're building or doing anything, pricing is crazy right now. Everything in the world is ridiculous pricing, and so we have started to see that. Fortunately, CM at Risk has allowed us to get ahead of that, so we've already locked in prices on our current projects, but it is starting to have some delays during pricing and manufacturing, so those are real, but they're volatile. They're going up and down all over the place, so we're monitoring it literally daily. I was talking to construction people today, and we're on top of that. Labor market is getting tighter now, so we are keeping an eye on that. We're watching as now we expect more people to enter the labor market with some of the restrictions, but of course now we're back to the Delta variant with COVID. So that's a long answer to say we're keeping an eye on everything and we don't really know. And so we're going to continue to working very hard with our partners in construction industry to keep an eye on this, but we wanted to let you know. And, all still the projects that are under construction, other than Blythewood High School and Richland Northeast, I don't have that in quotation, parentheses, are on schedule. But as mentioned before, we are monitoring and don't want to put ourselves in a position that's going to negatively impact future projects. So we're in a good spot right now that we can kind of continue to watch, but I did want to let everyone know and the viewing public know where we're at on that. As always, our communications department does a great job of keeping everything up to date on our website, so please visit that for more information. Sorry for the long report, but it has been a couple months and we've been very busy this summer, so I'll take any questions you have. Thank you.
Board, do you have any questions? Ms.
Chair,
Mackey?
It's not a question, it's just a reader. Thank you for always sharing how we can get that bond information easily on the website. And I'm just thankful to see so much of this come to fruition, and for district leadership and the people that made this come about. I can remember being on the other side of these decisions as a high school parent with SIC and advocating for so much of this. But it's a whole community made this happen. The board voting for the bond made this happen. A community voting for the bond made this happen. And so I'm just thankful to see so very much of what the community needs and needed coming to fruition. So thank you, all of the people who made that happen.
Okay, any other comments from the board? Ms. Agostini?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for your presentation, Mr. Anderson. It's been a while since we've talked about bond sales. Can we just refresh my memory of how many we've had, and do we anticipate another one anytime soon?
I will defer to our finance
Thank
officer.
you.
Yes, thank you. We've had 2 bond sales so far. We've issued about $249 million. As you can see from the chart that the table that Mr. Anderson presented, we've encumbered. We've spent less than that, but we've encumbered almost up to that point. So we are now talking to our bond counsel. Probably have another bond sale in the next 60 days, and then we'll probably have another one in a year from now.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from any board members? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for a very detailed report. We appreciate it. Okay, at this time, we will move on to 13.1 draft agenda for the August 24th, 2021 meeting. Dr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Madam Chair, members of the board, and to our viewing public and those that are in attendance, I'm preparing to read the draft agenda for the August 24th, 2021 regular scheduled board meeting of the Richland 2 Board of Trustees. We will call this meeting to order at 5:30, where we will convene and go into executive session. We'll come out of executive session. We have on the agenda tentatively, we have student appeals, student admissions requests into the district's adult education program. We look to come out of executive session by 6:30, where we will ask for a motion to end executive session. We'll have the inspirational moment and pledge of allegiance. Under 4.1, we'll have the approval of the agenda, followed by special recognitions. We'll have and ask for the approval of the consent agenda. We'll have our first public participation at 7.1, which is followed by our voting on executive session items, which includes our student appeals and student admissions into the district's adult education program. If there are any, we'll go to 9.1, old business action requested, where we'll have the policy revisions of approval for policy ADD, face coverings. New business, no action requested. We'll have the superintendent's highlight. We'll have a report from the Richland County Economic Development. We'll also have a report on attendance lines. We're asking then, we'll move to items 11.1, which is the draft agenda items for the September the 14th board meeting. Approval of that draft agenda, public participation number 2, our board and superintendent comments, followed by executive session 2 if needed, as well as voting on items in executive session 2 if needed, and then followed by, lastly, adjournment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Davis. May I get a motion for the approval of the draft agenda for the August 24th, 2021 meeting?
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I would also like the board to consider the adoption or adding to the draft agenda the review of policy FF, naming of new facilities.
Okay.
I've had a discussion with a board member that was Dr. Scott, who brought a great suggestion about a naming of facilities, and it would require us to at least have a discussion regarding the facilities at that time.
Okay. Okay. May I have a motion for the approval of the draft agenda with the addition added on by Dr. Davis for the August 24th, 2021 board meeting?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Mackey?
I move that we accept the draft agenda for the Tuesday, August 24th, 2021 regular board meeting of Richland 2 School Board of Trustees with the addition of naming facilities per Dr. Davis's suggestion.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Dr. Short Caution Parker. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll take the vote. Motion passes 6-1. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to 6.1, no, we are on, sorry. Let's see, 16.1, Board and Superintendent comments. Okay, we will start with Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say congratulations to our distinguished superintendent for his outstanding evaluation. Appreciate everything that you do and everything that you've done, and look forward to another year working with you. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd also,
I thought you were finished.
no, not there yet. And congratulations to our award recipients that were recognized by Dr. Davis this evening in the superintendent's highlights. Thank you for all the informative and detailed reports this evening. I mean, that's a lot that was presented this evening. Thank you. And looking forward to the new school year, and wish the district, all employees, all the students, everyone the very best. And we'll just keep praying regarding this whole situation with COVID, and just look for the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Caution Parker. Ms. Agostini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate all those that presented tonight. A special thank you to the people that come out in public participation, ask questions, and also share with us their thoughts and comments. I want to take this opportunity to just let the public know that I was not permitted, you will not see my vote for going into executive session, because our board chair did not ask for anybody who was opposed. When I brought it to her attention, I was told that she did not need to take my vote, and that she was running the meeting. So that is why I did not vote on the initial executive session item. I hope you all have a good night. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. McFadden.
I'd just like to say, with the start of this new school year, mask and vaccinations. I mean, that is the number one thing. But one thing we have to remember is that vaccinations are not a cure or a prevention. They just decrease the severity of the symptoms should you catch COVID. Masks help to prevent the spread of COVID. It's highly recommended and it is encouraged. Vaccinations and masks are important, but it's also important to allow people to make the decisions that they choose for their own household and for their own children. As for me and my house, we will be masking it up, and we will be social distancing. And I encourage the parents that are going back, as their hearts are racing, sending their kids on the bus and into the classroom, because you may have middle schoolers that are vaccinated, but if they don't have on a mask, they can still transmit COVID. And I think a lot of times that's something that's missing, and it's very important. To prevent is better than a cure. And with that, I've said my piece with it, because we've gone back and forth with county council, with Prisma Health, with such and such and such and such for days and weeks now. And all we can do now is just pray the best, do what is best for your family, no pressure for anyone, because people are going to make decisions based on what they want to do and what's best for their children. Parents know what's best for their individual children. So I would say mask if you want to, don't mask. Vaccinate if you want to, don't vaccinate. But don't judge. And that's my piece about it.
Okay. Dr. Scott.
Just like to thank all of them that presented this evening with the information that's so informative to guide our school district as well as our parents with decision-making. Also, want to send my condolences and prayers out to the Rice Creek Elementary family. We lost a gentle giant, Mr. Rod Taylor. I remember interviewing him when I worked as an assistant principal at Rice Creek. So I want to send my love, my prayers, and my condolences to the Richland 2 family, to the Rice Creek family, and to all those students who dearly, dearly love Mr. Taylor as I did myself. He was such a gentle giant. He was caring, he was loving, and he was a positive mentor to our students and to our teachers. So just want to send my love and condolences to the family. Also want to say welcome back to our teachers who will be starting back this week. I appreciate everything that you do, the decisions that you make, and the love, compassion, and care and safety that you provide for our students. And students, I know you'll be returning back next week, so stay safe, stay masked up, follow the instructions of your teachers, and just continue to wear your mask. And also congratulations to Dr. Davis on a distinguished evaluation. And to Ms. McFadden, congratulations on level 1. I think that's so important when you take the time as a school board member to go out and get the professional development. There are 6 levels to this. And I really appreciate when board members not just sit on the board, but they participate in professional development so they can get to that next level. So I want to say to Ms. McFadden, you've been on the board a short time, but you've already taken the initiative to move to the very next level. So congratulations. And as always, I appreciate everyone who's watching and the staff that's here. And I want to say, again, we do work for all of you. So if you have any questions or concerns, I'm always available to take calls or emails, and I look forward to continuing to be a servant leader on your behalf. Thank you. And one other thing I totally forgot. I see Attorney Hawkins here, and this is, I think, her first board meeting, so I want to say congratulations. We look forward to working with you, and I know that we're really going to be that premier school district with your guidance and leadership, so welcome aboard.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Scott. Ms. Mackey?
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the things I shared tonight in reading the inspirational moment was the importance of someone who teaches you that being a true champion doesn't always mean winning. It's about advocacy. So everyone in this room who has to be here and some who choose to be here, thank you for being here and advocating for our students every day. When the mics are off, when we don't have a board meeting, your advocacy is important. The community advocacy is important. The bottom line is educating our students that the main thing is the main thing. COVID numbers are over 2,000 now a day. So for your families, for your communities, please stay safe. Thank you all for being here. God bless.
Dr. Davis?
Madam Chair, members of the board, I first want to start off by simply saying thank you again to my staff for another outstanding board meeting. You all had some outstanding presentations, well done, well presented, and you did a phenomenal job of answering the questions. So I appreciate all the professionalism and work that you put into preparing for these board meetings. I want to also take the opportunity to thank our public who came out and participated today. I want to take a chance and echo what Dr. Scott said, and again, our condolences to the Taylor family, as well as a shout out to all of our returning employees, our new teachers who have showed up for the very first day. Today was their first day in Richland 2, so welcome to Richland School District 2, to our new teachers who may be watching, and of course to our returning teachers. I just simply want to say thank you. Thank you for deciding to make Richland 2 your home. The place that you decided to work. You could work and teach in many, many school districts, as we know, but you decided to be here with us, and so we are so appreciative of you and the talents and the gifts that you bring to our 28,000 students here in this district. I would be remiss if I didn't take a few minutes to just say thank you to our board, and thank you for your confidence and your trust in me as the superintendent of this school district. But none of this is possible without the support of our amazing faculty and staff, the support of our parents and our community, our students, most importantly, the support of my team here at the district office who assist me in the work that I do. This is a representation of all the hard work that so many people put in to ensure that we are providing premier educational experiences and opportunities for our students. And so I just want to say to everyone, to all of our partners, our students, our parents, our community, district administration, school administration, and you name it. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for trusting me, to work diligently on your behalf to address these issues and challenges, to stand in the gap for you when you can't stand in the gap, to fight for you, to fight for equity, to champion opportunity, to champion of simply providing you with premier educational opportunities and experiences in this district. And so I'm humbled and so appreciative that the board has extended an additional year to my administration because I do see it as a collective effort. So thank you so much.
Mr. Manning.
Yeah, I want to echo Dr. Davis and team. Certainly, it's a collective. Every individual that's involved in this school district culminates in at the top with your evaluation. One of the barometers that I always use for how well we do is the amount of communications I receive from the public. I have been on this board now for almost 11 years, and I have been through periods where I receive thousands of emails in a very short period of time and times where I receive very few. And throughout COVID, we certainly heard from the public during this last year, Dr. Davis, but I promise you, it is not near the level of discontent that I have seen in other events that were much smaller in size. So you all have done a fantastic job. It's a difficult job, but thank you for all the work that you do. I don't know whether I have the title right. I'll get it right eventually. Ms. Hawkins, also welcome to the team. I look forward to having you and the work that you'll do for us. And to the board, thank you for the work that we do as a collective. And I think having Dr. Davis at the helm and the fact that he still wants to stay here is also part and parcel to the work that we do, because some boards are very difficult to work for and we can't get along and it creates distrust amongst the community. It's difficult for staff and certainly difficult for the superintendent. So I appreciate the work that we all do collectively to make sure that it remains a good school district and that we have the best teachers, all the new teachers and the current existing staff here. So thank you for everyone in all of our parts. And also, I don't want to overlook our communications team and our IT teams who are not often heralded. But when you look at what's in this room on each of our desks and the podium and the audio visual that goes along with these meetings, there's a lot of work in the district. So thank you all as well for your effort. I know with school year coming up, you are ramping up big time. So thank you again.
Okay, I'd like to just say thank you to everybody that reported tonight and came out tonight and did everything that makes all of this possible. I'd like to say congratulations to Dr. Davis. You are one of the best superintendents that I have worked with over the years, and I've been in education now for 30, I'm not going to tell you the rest, 30 blah, blah, blah years, because I tell my age. But anyway, I've been in education a long time. You're absolutely one of the best superintendents that I have seen. I'd also like to say congratulations to Ms. McFadden, who has jumped right in and come aboard. We're very proud of our new Ms. McFadden here. I'd like to say welcome to our new attorney. How are you? I haven't met you yet, but I look forward to meeting you. And to all our teachers, students, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, and everybody that's involved, we're just going to hold each other's hand this year. We got through the tough year, and we're kind of back in it a little bit, but we'll get through it again. We're going to hold each other's hands. We're going to be here. We're going to listen. You do have a board that really cares. You do have a board that you can talk to. So do not feel like you can't talk to us, because we actually listen and we care. And Dr. Davis and his staff, they're a staff that cares also. And also, I'd like to say this, I heard an earlier comment, but I'm just going to, as a point of clarity, when items are not seconded, we don't necessarily have to vote on that. But anyway, having said that, you all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And now no, I'm sorry, we have to back up because we do have executive session too. Is that still correct, Dr. Davis? Okay, so I need a motion to go into executive session 2. Is that correct? Let me make sure I'm saying that correctly. This is the Is that correct, Dr. Davis? Okay, so may I have a motion to move into executive session 2?
Madam Chair,
Ms. Mackey?
I move that we conclude public session at this time and move into the second executive session.
Okay, do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will now dismiss ourselves to move into executive session 2. Thank you. My people, y'all want to go home? Okay. I need a motion to come back out of executive session 2, please.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Mackey?
I move that the record reflect that the second executive session was concluded at 9:03 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Mackey. May I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take the vote.
In the affirmative, I'm not logged in, Madam Chair.
Okay. Z, you got everybody?
Need everybody to raise their hand.
Okay, everybody raise your hand. If you didn't push, I pushed the lever, so. Okay. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, we're moving on to 18.1, property transfer. May I have a motion for the property transfer?
Madam Chair, I move that we authorize
Mr.
this.
Manning, can I finish? I know you're ready to go home. Let me
Go ahead
finish
and
my
slow-
statement.
slow my
Mr.
roll.
Manning.
All right. I move that we authorize the superintendent and the administration to proceed with the property transactions outlined to the board in executive session, consisting of the grant of an easement in exchange for a property donation, with all documents being made available to the public once the transaction has been completed.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Seconded, Ms. Mackey. Okay, y'all ready to get out of here? All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll have the vote. Hands up. All in favor?
We have an abstention.
Okay. Any abstentions? Okay. All right. Any against? Okay. So, okay, we have one abstention. Motion passes with one abstention and the remaining 6 in agreement. Okay, at this time, we'll move to, may I have a motion for adjournment? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mackey. May I have, thank you, Dr. Cheryl Caution Parker. Okay, everybody just raise your hand. Okay, I think it passes unanimously. You all have a great evening.